Hello and welcome to the Mum Boss Method podcast. You are joining me today for a Mum Boss at Home community check-in. This is where the ladies in my community complete a check-in form every Sunday for me, and then I share all of their wins, answer their questions and help them with their challenges every Monday. And you, if you are not part of that community, are listening to the result of that. So that means you get a bit of support with this as well. So let's go through the wins then. Lovely wins to be listening to here. So Laura had a wedding on Saturday and she felt good in her dress. That's amazing. I love to hear that you're feeling good in your clothes, and that has nothing to do with a number on the scale. Tish got back in the gym and back to lifting weights. Well done, Tish. Emma managed to still make healthy choices on the run during a very busy week and increased her step count a lot from last week, which is great. Well done, Emma, because I know that steps for Emma is something that can be quite challenging. She works at home a lot and has small children, so if she doesn't get them done during the day because of work, getting them done in the evening is hard too. Jackie is starting her new job, or has started her new job, so she felt much less stressed. Claire smashed a half marathon and had good nutrition this week. She did smash a half marathon because we ran the same half marathon. So I'm actually standing up as normal recording this podcast, and it was a real challenge to make myself stand up because I just wanted to stay sitting in my seat. Lisa has been practicing gratitude every night before bed, and she's finding this is massively helpful when she's feeling stressed out, and along with nighttime meditation seems to be a good combination for her and her overall mindset. I cannot recommend regularly practicing gratitude enough. I think I might have mentioned this on last week's podcast, maybe not, maybe I mentioned it to someone. I'm doing a 28-day gratitude challenge where if you miss any of the days, you have to jump back 3 days. And one thing I have to do every single day is write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. And I can't tell you how amazing and positive it makes you feel just to be grateful, even for the tiniest, smallest little things. It's so important. So I'm really on board with that, Lisa. Stacey said that her planning has meant that although there were several curveballs during the week, I was still on track with food. Well done. And Hannah found a dress for an up-and-coming wedding that she feels really great in. Love that for you, Hannah. Well done. Again, like I say, this, it really makes me happy to hear you talking about how a item of clothing is making you feel good rather than a number on the scales. That's amazing. Okay, so let's go through some challenges and some questions. So one of the ladies said that she was working on Saturday and didn't have lunch until 3 p.m. She had a salad as she was going out for dinner, and there wasn't much that she could have because of intolerances. So she ended up having a burger. I think this is for the dinner. She loves a burger, but this one had loads of onion in it, which didn't agree with her. Now, I completely resonate with you. I love onion, but I can only eat a little bit at a time. But I found a little bit of a trick that I thought I would share with people. And this isn't relevant for cooked onions, but with raw onions, and like I say, it might not work with everyone, but it works for me. I absolutely love homemade coleslaw. I make it every week, a couple of times a week. And coleslaw is just not the same if you don't have onion in it. So the first thing is I tend to use red onion because I find mostly it's a little bit sweeter than white onions. And what I do is I thinly slice. I've got a mandolin, is that what they're called? Anyway, one of those thin slicer things. And I slice up my red onion really, really, really thin. And then I put it in a bowl and I put lemon juice on it and freshly boiled water just to cover it, whilst I'm making the rest of the coleslaw. So I do that first, and I find it takes away some of the acidity that normally is the thing that upsets my tummy. So I get tummy ache, and then I get I feel like I'm getting reflux from raw onion. I sometimes get it from cooked onion as well. Like if I was to have cooked onions on a burger, well, I just wouldn't. But I don't know if this onion that you've eaten was cooked or raw, but that's a little tip for people with raw onion. If you find it gives you, a bit of a tummy ache and stuff, give that a try, because it's really, really helped me. Question. I'm still at 3 kilogram weight, so I love that loads of you have actually been messaging and talking about the weights that you've been using since last week's podcast, where I talked about what weights you should be using, and loads of my one-to-one clients have been having this conversation with me as well. So I'm still at 3 kilogram weights. I did your leg heavy workout and my butt and thighs killed me for a couple of days after. It was the workout you used 7.5s for. I don't know how you did it. Occasionally I use my 4 kilogram weights, but only for one round, as it's just too much for me. Okay, so the first thing to realise is, for quite a few of you, this is really the first time you've been lifting weights for a long amount of time, and I've been doing this for over 10 years now. So the weights that I use at home are just the weights that I have at home and what I'm used to doing it with. And obviously I go into the gym and I use a lot heavier weights. If you're getting DOMs for a couple of days after doing these workouts, and I think I've said this to a few of you before, consistently doing 2 to 3 of these workouts a week will mean you get less sore less often, but also it will have you progressing, so that your 3 kilogram weights that you're using then consistently become your 4 kilogram weights. Because I know so many of you are strong on your legs. Think about how much our legs do every day. I believe you can still be using higher weights, a lot of you. So the more consistently you do this and do 2 to 3 sessions every week, the more you'll be able to do. I believe in you. I believe in you. Okay, so one of the ladies, oh my gosh, when I'm talking, I can really hear the vibration of me talking inside my head. It's so weird. Such a random thing to say, but I can. It's very bizarre. Okay, so one of the ladies here has said that she's been quite hungry this week, and she thinks it's because she did a long run at the beginning of the week and then again on Wednesday, and she also then did a Chrissy workout on Tuesday and Friday. She says she loves to run, but she feels it's really made her hungry this week, and she wants to start going on longer runs, aiming to do 1 long run a week. Should I eat differently that day or the next day so as not to be so hungry? So this is a really, really topical subject for me at the moment, and I'm going to be really, really honest about this, because I'm going to document this on social media as well. When I started my half marathon training in January, I started that half marathon training in a calorie deficit. Because I wanted to drop a little bit of body fat. And then after signing up for the half marathon, I decided I wanted to do a minimum of 2 runs a week, but ideally 3. And so obviously over the months, February, March, April and May, I built up the miles that I was doing each week, and that kind of peaked 2 weeks ago. And I very quickly in February worked out that I could not train for a half marathon on a calorie deficit, and so have been eating at maintenance or slightly higher calories since February, and I have gained some body fat. I haven't weighed myself. I might weigh myself next week, but I haven't so far. I can just see it and I can feel it, and I know that I have gained some body fat, and that is because running does make you hungry, and you've probably heard me say before, it is not an optimal exercise for fat loss because it does push your hunger levels up. Now, this person I know loves to run, and it is a big part of their life, as is, and it is with a couple of other clients in my community as well. But I just want to be really, really clear that big bursts of cardio like running for, 5-6 miles will make you hungry. So there's a few things to just be aware of here, and that is what is the goal. And this is really what I had to think of for myself back in February. Whilst I still wanted to lose a little bit more body fat after kind of Christmas and stuff, what was my goal? My goal was to finish, initially my goal was to finish that half marathon within 2 hours 30. And then as I got faster, I wanted to finish it in less than 2 hours 20. And I actually did it in 2 hours 14. And I absolutely can tell you that I would not have done that if I'd been training in a calorie deficit. In fact, I would have been tired, I probably would have got injured, and I would have had less energy. So it's really important to think about what is the goal. Okay, is the goal, and I'm not telling you can't run, but is the goal, what is the number one goal? Is the goal fat loss? Is the goal fat loss in a healthy and sustainable way, and in a way that you are going to learn to do this long term, building great habits so that you can do things like running and entering races and stuff like that without feeling like you're up and down? Or is the goal that you want to enter into some running races and get a certain time or certain distance? Because those goals will require a different approach to your food. If the running is the most important, then the focus, that's a performance goal. And believe me, I've loved having my performance goal for the last 4 months. Absolutely loved it. But the running, the fat loss is very difficult to achieve if you start upping your running. Now, that all being said, 2 runs a week, and one of them being, a 5-6 miler is fine. Absolutely fine. That's like that's 10k, working kilometers, sorry. So that's like a 10k. That's absolutely fine. But what I want you to do is I want you to think about how you're fueling yourself, because this is really, really, really important. So something I know this person in particular, and many people that come and work with me, they are really, really fearful of carbs. And if you are running, 10k once a week and then a shorter run, you need to be making sure that you're fueling yourself properly. And the way to do that is to make sure that you're eating enough carbohydrates. Okay, so not just through your fruit and vegetables, but also through your grains and things like that as well. So make sure you fuel well before and after the run. Ensure you're getting enough carbs as well as protein. And this might be that you need to play around with it, because it's also going to depend on what time of the day you run. I've not done any of my running training in the afternoon. I've been doing all my runs in the morning, and for most of them I don't eat before I go. It was just on Sunday long runs that I was eating like a slice of toast or a crumpet before I went. But I was eating over my calories on those long run days because I had to, in order to fuel before the run and then fuel enough after the run. And believe me, yesterday when I got home from the half marathon, I could not get enough food into my body. So I would allow yourself a little bit more food around the days of those longer runs. Do not then restrict your food on days that you're not running, but monitor when the hunger hits. I think you tend to run a bit later in the day than I did. So does that hunger hit later on that day, or is it more the next day? And it might mean just balancing it all out and working out when you're going to need a bit more food. And remember, start seeing your calorie allowance as a weekly allowance. I do not want you restricting your food because you feel like you've overeaten, okay? Yes, okay, so that's that one around running. Same person though, I've been picking a bit this week. This tends to happen with me when I've lost a bit of weight. I end up starting to eat wee extra bits. I was out for tea Thursday night and had a chicken korma, had a wedding yesterday, so far too much food and drink, but I'll not give myself a hard time about it. I'll just carry on. Okay, so I also wanted to talk a little bit about this, and it feels a bit like June is a really busy month for lots of my clients and for me actually at the moment. And so like there's two issues here. I want to talk about the wedding and stuff like that, and then I want to talk about the picking. So one of the things that I've really noticed with a lot of one-to-one client check-ins and also just conversations that I'm having with clients is that there's like a lot of events coming up. I suppose we're getting into wedding season, aren't we, and all of that. And when it's something like a wedding, I've got a wedding next Thursday, and, you know, firstly, we can't control the food that we're given at weddings. You might get asked to choose between chicken, beef and vegetarian, but we can't control what food we're given. It's also a real celebration. You know, often for most people, it's a celebration that revolves around food and drink. And, you know, we're there to celebrate the couple. So for me, you know, next week, that wedding, I've just said to you, I'm going into a calorie deficit. I'm going to go into a little fat loss phase before my holiday. And, you know, that wedding is one of my June occasions where it is just I'm just enjoying this. Now, we all know I went on the hen do a few weeks ago and I really did enjoy that. You know, a wedding is a whole day event as well. I don't plan on drinking myself silly, but the food that you get given is kind of, you know, you can't help. And there will be a few glasses of wine, but I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to be trying to count my calories on the day of a wedding, right? And the same with 2 days after that wedding, my husband's taking me for my birthday to go and see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And between the two showings, we have a dinner booked out at a Japanese restaurant. Again, that is not a meal that I am going to try and count my calories. I don't think there will be loads of alcohol on that day because we've got about 5 hours of theatre to watch, so I don't want to be falling asleep. But there are situations in life where, you know, these have to be the situations that the focus is not on counting your calories and enjoying it and just having a nice time. Like, that's the most important thing. When you say that you've started picking, and this tends to happen with you when you've lost a bit of weight, you eat extra bits. So I'd really like you to consider what the mindset is there behind that. Now, I know you've already said that you have been feeling hungry because of the running, but you've also said that this tends to happen when you lose a bit of weight. So can you do a bit of journaling on this, have a little bit of a think? What are you telling yourself? What is the story you're telling yourself around, I've lost a bit of weight, so now I can start picking at extra bits? What is going on there? What are you telling yourself? Because I'm sure you're knowing what you normally are like with your calories. I'm sure you are not overeating, but I would really like you to start unpicking the story you're telling yourself. Why does this always happen when you start to lose a bit of weight? Why do you start picking? Now, if you are picking and that's taking you, out of your calorie deficit, your full calorie deficit, that's one thing. But if it's just a couple of bits here and there, and you are still in a calorie deficit, it shouldn't be a problem. But I'd really like you to think about that thought of what's going on in the background. And, just in terms of, going out for dinner and having a chicken korma, again, I've said this before, we need to live our lives. We can't spend 6 months not eating out because we want to lose weight. That's just miserable. Okay, next ones then. So one of my ladies is back into a normal routine Monday to Friday after going back to work. She's found tracking her food during those routine days are much easier, but at the weekend she's starting to see as time to have a few indulgences, and this is really normal. But what I want to just say to you is, how can you, or why don't you plan in some indulgences? And I love that you've called them indulgences rather than treats. Can you plan in those indulgences for the weekend? But can you also make sure there's a couple of indulgences planned that aren't the weekend if you've got time? If you plan them in, you can plan around them. And don't forget, you can let yourself have a few more calories at the weekend, because it's a total calorie allowance, not a strict calorie number you have to adhere to Monday to Friday. It's an overall average of the week. What are your thoughts on protein products? I found a chocolate milkshake that is low sugar, 160 calories for 30 grams of protein. I thought this would be great for when I'm at work and I want a treat, but I don't want to fall into the trap of buying a cookie and a cake. Is the idea the higher the protein, the fuller you'll be? 30 grams seems huge for a milkshake. Okay, so great question. Thank you for always posting great questions, this person. They're always very well thought through and I appreciate them. So I don't have a huge problem with protein products. I probably have a protein product myself once per day. It tends to be yogurts or puddings for me. That milkshake sounds fine. And I agree, 30 grams of protein for a milkshake is a lot. That's great. There's something to consider, and it's the point you've raised around the higher the protein, the fuller you will be. Okay, and some of this will be about personal preference, but give it a listen, give it a try. For me, liquid doesn't fill me up. So you could give me that 30 gram protein milkshake and I would just think, a sweet milkshake, that's delicious. I mean, I only would if it was chocolate flavour, because don't give me strawberry or banana flavoured milkshake. Blah, blah. But even if I'm drinking a smoothie, right, even if I've put veggies in there, I think psychologically it doesn't fill me up, because I really like chewing my food. So protein milkshakes are a good kind of on the go, like it might be a good, I just have time to grab this for breakfast in the car on my way. At least you're getting some protein, but there's no fibre in it. There's no substance to it. You're not chewing it. And don't forget that eating is an act that involves all of our senses. It's an experience that uses all of our senses. So it's not got a huge amount of fibre. It's not going to have any fibre in it probably, and it is just liquid. So it might help you hit your protein goal, but it's actually not solid food. So will it keep you full up for long enough? This might be a question of give it a try and see how it works for you. You know, I could have talked myself out of the fact that things like this work for me because I like the act of chewing. But for me personally, and that's not to say this is what you all should do, I wouldn't buy protein milkshakes unless I was absolutely desperate, unless I was travelling or something, because I know I would probably still feel hungry 45 minutes later. Now, might it stop you from having a cake or a cookie? Yes, because in the job that you do, grabbing that at break time, which would be your only, you know, opportunity to have a cake or a cookie, is a better option than taking the cake or the cookie. So I think it's a really good way of anticipating and approaching a problem you might have. Give the milkshake a go, and if it doesn't work and you still find yourself hungry, then we'll find you another solution, and that's fine. Okay, next. Okay, so this person has twisted their ankle, which has meant they couldn't go to boot camp this week, and they've also not tracked their food. So 2 points that they've made. What would I recommend for exercise with an ankle injury? Now, I happen to know that this person has already spoken to a physio, which was the right thing to do, and they've given you some advice. I would never advise on what you can and can't do on an injury. Other than if it hurts, stop doing it, because I'm not a physio. I'm not there with you. I don't know what you've done. So you've done the right thing by speaking to a physio. And if you hadn't spoken to a physio, that's what I would have told you to do. They've also said, I think the excuses that they've made is thinking that they know what they're doing with food, so haven't tracked. I know this isn't the way forward for me and that I have to keep tracking. Okay, so the important part here is that this person has said, I know this isn't the way forward for me. So they know that not tracking their food tends to mean they go a little bit rogue. Okay, so they have to keep tracking. And what I would say is, particularly if you have hurt your ankle and you can't move as much, your nutrition is even more important. So what I advise you do is you pre-track everything you can this week, because you should have done your planning by now. It's Monday. Go and pre-track as much as you can so that you have the least opportunity to make an excuse about it as possible. Okay. Right. What's this person said? Using tiredness as a reason not to do things like a workout or a walk, despite knowing that it'll actually help. And then I get cross with myself the following day for not doing it. I've been in a bit of a spiral this week with this. Okay, we often use tiredness as a great excuse not to do what we need to do, but it's actually a reason. So what I really want to encourage you to do is to stop allowing that to be an excuse. There is an absolute difference, and I've got a couple of clients that I've got one-to-one client that's tested positive for COVID this week, another one's got another infection, and they are tired and ill, and they're reasons not to do a workout. They're reasons not to leave the house and push themselves to walk. Okay, I woke up this morning and my legs were on fire and I did not want to walk my dog. But walking is great for your health, great for your mindset. If you are trying to lose body fat, it is great for your body fat. But most importantly, it's a healthy habit, right? I didn't want to walk the dog. I did because it's a healthy habit and I knew it would make me feel better. And despite the fact that my legs felt like lead this morning, I was so grateful that I'd done that walk because they improved. So how can you just eradicate tiredness as an excuse? It's not a valid excuse for not going for a walk. You know, if you're too tired to do a workout, go for a walk. It's not a valid excuse. It's a reason to do it. Okay. Okay, so I've struggled with sleep and hormones this week. I felt emotional, irritable, exhausted, and have found it challenging to force myself out for a walk. So again, similar. Actually, probably forcing yourself out for a walk probably would have made you feel better. And also this last week, the weather has been so much better than it has been. I mean, today has been terrible. It's sunny now, but you know, we've not had very many sunny days, so I cannot tell you how much better you will feel for just getting out in the sunshine, even if it's just for 20 minutes. I confess to making the old excuse of needing chocolate when it's that time of the month. I don't think I've overindulged so much to fret about, but definitely found myself using this excuse once or twice. So, you absolutely might crave a bit more chocolate or a bit more food when you are on your period, and that's quite normal for a lot of people. However, using the excuse of you need chocolate, what I really encourage you to do is not to use the word need, and we've talked about this before. You want chocolate. What your body actually needed was probably to go out for a walk, in reference to your previous statement. You didn't need chocolate, you wanted chocolate. No one needs chocolate, you want chocolate. So I encourage you to really acknowledge the emotion and the desire that you have in yourself and change the language to match. So stop telling yourself you need chocolate, you want chocolate. Okay, because then what you're doing is you are making an empowered choice. I don't need chocolate. If I tell myself I need chocolate, then I have to give myself chocolate. No, you need food or you need water at some point during the day in order to survive, but that food doesn't have to be chocolate. So I really encourage you to change the language that you're talking to yourself with, because it's really powerful and really important. Okay, great questions, great check-in, ladies. Thank you so much. I'm releasing 2 podcast episodes there. I said it out loud this week. My second one will be talking to you about how I'm going to approach my fat loss for the next 8 or 9 weeks. I think it's 9 weeks. So tune into that. That will be Wednesday. Have an awesome week. And if you want to know how you can join the community, take a look at the link in the show notes. Have a good week. Bye.